Hi everyone and welcome to my sewing channel. My name is Marina and in today's video I'm going to show you how I made this adorable tie front blouse perfect for spring. I created this design a few months ago and I just loved how it turned out, so I already made a few different versions of it, as you can see. I think that this project can be considered as beginner friendly because you don't have to master a lot of techniques to be able to sew it correctly. But if you have any question, don't hesitate to leave a comment and I will be happy to answer. I made a pattern for you guys to make you able to reproduce it if you want. You can find it in the description box down below. The pattern comes in 3 different sizes: XS, ML and XXL. It's quite an oversized piece, so I think it will fit a lot of different bodies. I also included a size chart to make you able to choose the correct size for your body. If you're in between 2 sizes, I recommend you to choose the smaller one. Once you've downloaded the pattern, you just have to print it and tape it, just like a regular sewing pattern. For this project, I chose to use these beautiful lilac bedsheets that I thrifted a few weeks ago. I really love to work with second-hand fabrics as it is often qualitative and gives a unique look to my wardrobe. This one is 100% cotton. I also be using this vintage British embroidery. You can use any fabric that you want as long as this is woven and not knitted. The first thing to do is to cut the fabric. You will need 2 front pieces, 1 back piece cut and fold, 2 sleeves pieces, 2 collar pieces cut and fold, 2 front facing and 1 back facing cut and fold. Don't forget to mark notches where indicated on the pattern. Now that we have all our pieces ready, we can start sewing. First, put front and back pieces right side together by the shoulders and stitch. Then overlock. Next, we are going to gather the top of the sleeves to make this kind of puffy look. As you can see on the pattern, the sleeve cap is slightly bigger than the armhole, so we have to gather the fabric to make sure that everything matches. To do so, we are going to set the stitch length to the maximum on our sewing machine, then sew 2 lines of stitches following the cap sleeves from notch to notch. The first line will be sewn at 0.5 cm from the edge, and the second line at 0.75 from the edge. Don't backstitch at the beginning and at the end, as we are going to pull on the threads later to gather the fabric. Once that we have our 2 lines, we are going to catch both bobbin threads and gently pull on it to gather the fabric. Once we are done, we are going to sew the sleeves onto the armholes. Put the sleeves and the armholes right sides together and pin all along. Make sure that the top of the sleeves are matching the armholes. Then stitch at 1 cm from the edge and overlock. Now we are going to focus on the bottom of the sleeves. If you want, you can add British embroidery. That's what I did because I think it gives a vintage look to my garments. To do so, cut a piece of embroidery that measures 1.5 times the measurements of the bottom of the sleeves, then gather it using the previous technique, and finally sew the embroidery and the sleeves together and overlock. Once that is done, we are going to create a casing, as you can see here, to put an elastic and to gather the sleeve at the wrist area. Creating a casing will give the garment a nicer and cleaner finish. I also think it's really easier that way. First, measure the bottom of your sleeve, then cut 2 pieces of fabric 4 cm wide, and the length should be equal of the measurement you took before. Overload the top and the bottom of the straps. Then draw a line 4 cm above the bottom edge of the sleeves. Put the bottom edge of the straps just on top of this line and pin. Then stitch 2 lines into the overlocked edge. And we are done with the casing. To make sure that the sleeves fits our wrists, we are going to put an elastic inside the casing. Put a piece of elastic that matches your wrist measurements plus 4 cm for ease and similar ones. Using a safety pin, pull the elastic through the casing. Pin on each side to secure. Now that we have finished working on the sleeves, we are going to close the sides of the garments. First, overlock each side separately. Then pin side seams together and sew. Let's move on to the middle front ties. Cut 8 pieces of fabric 32 cm long and 4 cm wide. Fold the top of the ties, then fold as shown and sew close to the edge. You can definitely use your iron to help you with these parts. Once that is done, we are going to sew it to the bodice. Place the first ties on top of the center of front pieces, 1 cm from the top edge. Place the following ones 14.5 cm below the first ones, then do the same with the third and the fourth ones. Circle in place with a basting stitch. Now let's focus on the color. As you can see, I added British embroidery to match the sleeves. Measure the collar outer edge and cut a piece of embroidery that measures 1.5 times this measurement. You can measure only an half of the collar and multiply by 2. Then gather it using the technique I showed you previously. Put the ruffle on one of the collar pieces and make sure that it matches. Pin and sew with a basting stitch. Next, put the second collar piece on the first one and sew at 1 cm from the edge. Trim the seam onto the curves and flip the collar right side out. I highly recommend to iron the collar to make it flat and clean. Next, put front and back facings right sides together and sew the shoulder seams and overlock. Overlock all around the outer edge of the facings, then overlock the hem of the bodice. Now put the collar on the bodice, making sure that the notches are matching, and leave 1 cm at the beginning and at the end of the neckline. Secure with a basting stitch. Then put the facings on the collar, then stitch all around. Trim the corners. Overlock the seam. You will have to do it in 3 times. First from the bottom to the neckline, then all along the neckline, and finally from the neckline to the bottom of the other side. And for a cleaner look, what you can do is just to pull on the extra thread into the overlock seam with the help of a big needle. Now we are going to make understitches on the facings to make a really nice and professional look. In order to do that, fold the seam allowance towards the lining and stitch on it as close as you can from the seam we just did. You will have to do it in 3 times as you did for the overlock, from the bottom to the neckline, all along the neckline, and finally from the neckline to the bottom on the other side. Then sew the bottom of the facing and the bottom of the garment right sides together and flip the piece right side out. Finally, you can fold the hem on 1 cm and sew all along into the overlocked seam. And we are done with this project. Honestly, I'm so happy with the results. I think that the lilac color gives a really nice and romantic look to the garments. Anyway guys, I hope that you have succeeded making this tutorial and that the video was clear enough. If you reproduce this tutorial, I would love to see the results, so don't hesitate to tag me on Instagram. I will put the link to my account down below. I'm going to stop here and let you enjoy the final results. Happy sewing!